What's up, everyone? Welcome to NVP. Decided to go live, talk about Alien Earth. Checked that out last night. Very, very interesting show. Very interesting show. And from the discourse online, it's going to get really interesting. You either love this show, didn't watch this show, or hate this show. And there seems to be a lot of people in the last two categories on this one. But I have to say, I'm very optimistic on where they're going to go with this. But before we get started there, how is everyone doing? Things are going well. Had a crazy weekend. Very crazy weekend. I am trying to recover from it. And then those two little kittens my Rottweiler rescued a couple weeks back have decided to go full on kitten, and they are running wild. But without further ado, let's talk Alien. But as we get into it, we have to start here because this one got to me. This one I found amusing. Okay, this is Sarah Clements 2.0. And if you're wondering what that 2.0 stands for, it used to be Stan Clements. The Alien franchise has always been about the body, its boundaries, its vulnerabilities, its transformations. Alien Earth reframes this through a sharp, queer-coded lens. A haunting fusion of sci-fi, corporate dystopia, and Peter Pan references. Where do you even go with that? The comments on it are absolutely this. Absolutely this, without a doubt. This, they, them, everything has to be through a queer-coded lens. The only thing I can think of in this show that is queer-coded is maybe the xenomorph, because they'll mutilate bodies to create something different. That's about all I can see. If the LGB community had any sense, they would knock the T out of it, because they can't stop dragging you guys down. But, did you guys see Alien Earth? What did you guys think about this? I have to admit, I went into it... if you saw my video, I posted it a few days ago, and I think it's a 5-minute video about warming up to this show, and I barely was able to drag myself through it. I honestly thought this would probably be one of the worst things that could happen. There are so many red flags just in the promotional material for anyone that cares about Alien. And as far as I'm concerned, let me clarify this right away. There's Alien, there's Aliens, and then there's this. I know you can kind of count Romulus in, but since it was essentially a remake of Alien itself, I'm just going to write that off for now. But that's the Alien timeline. Besides some of the books, of course, you know, we have to make a carve out for them because there's a lot of lore in those. But we got Josh Hawley and Ridley Scott who came together to put this show out. And we're 2 episodes in. A lot of the comments and reactions I've been seeing are almost treating this like it's a movie. And I'm not... I guess maybe it's just been too long that we look at these things like on Disney Plus. Like a Disney Plus series we know is going to be abysmal. It's going to get into lore that we love and destroy it. This show seems to be avoiding that at all costs, which is outright surprising. But I listened to a lot of the reviews because I was 25 minutes into the show, and I put down my pen and I said, I'm really enjoying this. So I sat through both episodes. I just binged both episodes with the wife, and I loved them. I liked everything that I saw. And when I afterwards, I went back and I started listening to all the reviews and watching a lot of reviewers here on YouTube, people that I'm usually right in line with. And there was a lot of things I saw that I either didn't feel the same way, or I thought were taken from the wrong perspective. Because this show is all about perspective. If you look at Alien and Aliens, they are what you're watching from is the Wayland Yutani perspective. Now, if you take everything we've seen so far as just a Wayland Yutani perspective, then there's plenty of room to spread out from that. I mean, almost all the lore that we have is written by just Wayland Yutani. And that changes everything because you don't have to shoehorn in this show. You don't have to create wiggle room. You can do whatever you want. Because if we're looking at it from perspectives, Wayland Yutani is Alien and Aliens. And in the beginning of this show, and I'll tell you now, there are going to be spoilers in here if you haven't seen it, but they're not going to matter to you because these first two episodes were mostly just set up. Introduction to characters and a lot of world building. And that's where this whole idea of perspective actually comes from. Because the Wayland Yutani Corporation, the way this show opens is almost a one-to-one remake of the opening scenes of Alien. And it's done really well. This show is beautiful to look at. There are some things and I'll get into them with the effects, but this show looks good. Now, it takes place 2 years prior to the original Alien. This was the big red flag for me. Because what it said to me was simply, we're rewriting your lore and to hell with you. And that's not the case. We are now looking at this from Prodigy, which is another mega corporation like Wayland Yutani and a few others that are going to play a larger role in this show as it goes forward. I know there's talk of anywhere from 3 to 5 seasons if this works. And I very well think it might. If it could blow up. Absolutely. This could completely fall apart. But I think I know where they're going. To start off, and this will also talk about one of the criticisms. The alien, the xenomorph, seems tacked on. That was very interesting to me because one of the first things that I realized was this isn't just an Alien show. This is a world-building show of Ridley Scott. We're building on Blade Runner lore here, which I know it's sacred. I mean, I'm not a 2049 fan. I am a Final Cut Blade Runner kind of guy. I've read the books. I know everything about Blade Runner. I respect it. I love it. But going from Blade Runner to Alien is something, it's kind of jarring, but it all works in the same universe. Someone with little frame of reference, this was a fascinating storyline because you really don't need to know. But now you're going to want to know. So it's bringing new fans into the Alienverse. Oof, Alienverse. Cass Rowe. You know what? I really strongly have to agree with you there. Because as soon as the second episode ended, I pulled out the 4K of Alien and of Blade Runner. It made me want to watch the things that I cared about, and those are the things that I think this show is basing itself off of. This is not a show that is being filmed in 2025 Earth. This is a show that's being filmed in 1979 Earth. And they get to that right in the beginning, like I was saying, with the introduction of this ship and what is going on that replicates the Weyland Yutani way of doing things, and that's why it's so reminiscent of Alien itself, is because all these ships are going to work off the exact same. How do you put it? They're going to have the same way of doing everything. I'm half brain dead tonight. Sorry, guys. I have to get back in the swing of things. But yeah, essentially, what we're looking at is they set the tone. And it's not the Los Angeles outside your window, to quote Kevin Feige. This is not that. This is 1979. This is Alien. This is Ridley Scott. This is Josh Hawley Legion. First 2 seasons. But I have to add that in. Now, going forward, it can go anywhere. But, like Cass was saying in the chat, you don't need to know anything going into this. Prometheus pretty much gets chucked out the window, or it's happening somewhere else. It's not going to affect the story. Anything that's going on in the Nostromo right now. Because remember, cryosleep is decades. So these ships are out there. They're out and about. So nothing that's going on can really affect anything else, especially if you know, like, Apple and Google are not sharing secrets with Amazon. If this is the same thing, just imagine it on a solar system scale, because it's not even a global scale. This is a solar system wide scale that this universe is taking place in. And I really think this is coming straight out of what they were building towards is coming out of Blade Runner. And that is very, very obvious with Oliphant's character. If you didn't catch the vibe, go back and watch it, because we're talking, these are Blade Runner synths. And I'm assuming, and now I might be writing in the lore, but because Ridley Scott did both, you can pretty much see what the progression is going to be. Now, the natural progression is where we are at today. We had the issues with synths, so the next step is to make these hybrids. Now, by hybrid, it's a human mind downloaded into a synthetic body. And that's where our lead character, Wendy, comes from. Now, from what they're telling us, adults are not compatible with the process. Their minds are too strict. They're too formed. Children are much more pliable. They're accepting of the change. Whether this is all true or not, I don't know. I have my doubts. I think they're throwing us a lot of red herrings. I really do. They dropped, I heard somebody say, oh, there's like 4 or 5 plot points. No, there's like 30 plot points. There's threads all over this show if you know what you're looking for. And even the casual viewer is going to say, wait a minute, what were they talking about with that? And it was only a sentence. And we've come to look at this like they're just throwaway lines because of Disney Plus shows. But no, everything matters when you're talking about Ridley Scott. And if you think about the first Fargo with Josh Hawley and Legion, you're going to come across the exact same type of threads being deposited throughout. It's something to watch, something to rewatch, something to pay attention to, something to talk about. And I'm hoping this show continues along and generates that kind of interest that we can start talking about it and the spoilers don't come out the next episode. I think it's really going to kick off with episode 3, and we'll see. I mean, there's 8 episodes in the season. I'll talk about the 1 and 2 in broad strokes, and we'll do a review. I'll do a full review video later. One of the first things you're going to hear is the Neverland references, the Peter Pan references, the Wendy references. And yes, while a lot of it has to do, I'm sure, has to do with Disney owning the rights and the properties, there's even an Ice Age Easter egg in it. It doesn't fall out of the realm of acceptability because this is not far ahead of us. It's less than 100 years from where we are at right now. So when you look, if you were to time this out and go back, I mean, we still watch things in that time frame. Early movies are still viewed. So this is going to be set in the future, and it makes sense. Now, the meaning that they're going to pull from Peter Pan as the show evolves, whether this is just a nugget they're dropping and a theme they're going with, can make or break that whole thing. Because when you factor in Blade Runner and you look at this with Wendy and the Lost Boys, it all ties in, and it ties in well. But the copy opening has been the major source of complaining. But if they did not have that, you would instantly think Prometheus. You would instantly think AVP or one of the other half dozen Alien properties. This is something different, and they let you know right off the bat by putting you where you need to be in the timeline. I felt like, okay, I'm watching the original Alien, and I am all here for it. So it puts you in that right frame of mind. And the whole first episode is essentially keeping you in that frame of mind while slowly building out the world. Now, Wendy was terminally ill, and she was put into this body voluntarily. There's some contrivances with, the father signing away her to that. The rest of her family thinks she's dead. Okay, that's accepted. It has to happen. They also have other terminally ill children that she helps to transition into the new synthetic body. So now you have children, 12-year-olds, roughly, that are put into adult synthetic bodies. This can seem like a million different things, and you can insert... There are whack jobs like Sarah Clemens over there that will use that to insert whatever degenerate fantasy they want, but it doesn't. That's not what it means. It's just blatantly obvious that it is what it is. The show actually tells you that children are malleable, their minds will work. The adult body, okay, this is not our Earth. That's where the separation comes from, and that's why Ridley and Hawley set it up to be based off of the 79 Alien. This is not our world at all in any way. This is the Blade Runner world into the Alien world. And if they play that out, this is going to be epic. But bringing a child in pretty much an immortal, all-powerful synthetic body raises a lot of questions. And the show actually handles them appropriately. The actors, well, they don't act like adults. They act like children with fake emotions. And that's because they have no more estrogen's not produced, adrenaline's not produced. These are synthetic bodies. So they're replicating emotion. And that leads me into another thing that I keep hearing. Oh, these kids would be scared. Well, no, they're not scared. That is a response that's generated by the body, by releases of chemicals. They don't have that anymore. So they can adjust their fake emotions up or down. And right now they're keeping it, it seems, at a baseline to where it's a little below what a human would be. But you're going to need that just for the adjustment purposes alone. So it all works in the story. And a lot of the lines that you hear are going to sound immature coming from them. They're children. It just doesn't make them smart. Like, we don't know if you put a pulse rifle in their hands yet, if they'll instantly know how to use it because it's programmed into the synthetic brain. That's going to be interesting. They're saving a lot of that, and that's what's giving me the hope. There's a lot of questions, a lot of basic fundamental questions that they could have explored and got it out of the way, but they didn't. They're holding on to that for down the line to expand on, and that's great. Now, Wendy has a brother, a human brother that also works for Prodigy. And he's a medic. He's trying to get out to go to medical school, to become a doctor. It's a whole B plot there. There's a lot going on. But she is keeping him there without him knowing about it. There's a scene where he is trying to file to be able to be released from his contract to go to medical school. Well, Wendy, she's Bluetooth compatible. She's in the system. So she knows what's going on, and she denies that request. And she even says, and this is weird because he's not, this was not just a robotic decision. This was actually her keeping him there because that's actually what she says in a different scene. And this is where watching it, and these throwaway lines aren't throwaway lines like we have become so used to just accepting. Another thing that I've been hearing a lot about is the Gen Z cast. If you know your Alien lore, where are the adults? The adults are in space. The adults are in cryosleep, or they're starving, because these worlds are not rich. Most live in hive communities, which are mega cities. They don't have a lot. You'll have your wealthier ones, but mostly if you're not working for one of these mega corporations, you're probably just barely scraping by. So you're going to see young, emaciated, thin, not so muscular people. They're going to be suffering from malnutrition to an extent. This is that world. There's no surprise there. It's not Gen Z to be Gen Z. That's what you got to work with at that point. Because once you hit real working age and you sign up at one of these corporations, guess what? You are in a mining ship or mining station somewhere out in the solar system. You're not there with your family anymore. And that's something that was established already back in Alien. She's trying to save him, but wouldn't he be too old to get the procedure? I don't think she's trying to get her brother to become a synth. And again, they're not letting us know everything, and I think Wendy knows a little more than she's supposed to know. Basically because of her ability to integrate with the system so easily. So she might know things that us as the viewer don't know and we can only guess at. And that's something I'm trying to stay away from, because when you're into the lore and you know so much of it, you can fit the pieces in without making stuff up. But in the same breath, it makes it very, very easy to guess where they're going. And if I've learned anything from Ridley Scott, no. Don't do that, because you will be thrown off. But yeah, I don't think that Wendy is trying to make her brother into a synth. I think her whole thing is just taking care of her big brother. Her father's dead. I'm not quite sure where the mother is. She might be gone already. I have to go back and watch it again, and I really don't have a problem doing that because I'm looking forward to it. But that's where I see the relationship with her brother at this point. I don't think she's thinking too far ahead. In fact, I don't think any of any of the synths are thinking too far ahead. They haven't been in these bodies long enough to mature. They're gaining experience. And they're not disposable by any means. They are all considered prototypes and extremely valuable by Prodigy. But what is it, Kid Cavalier, who runs the company, and there's a lot there with that character that I'm not even going to get into yet because I have no idea where it's going. I'm not sure if he's real. I'm not sure if he's synth. I'm not sure if he's something completely different. But he seems way too smart and way too clever. But he's also very nonchalant with the synths, especially with Wendy. Okay, you want to go on this assignment? Go. Well, they're not trained for it. But again, who knows what is actually in their programming? Because while these are 12-year-old kids in these bodies, we don't know what subliminal programming they have access to. And this is where a series has the time, especially with 8 episodes, to dig into 8-hour-long episodes. Now, binging 2 hours of this show, my wife turned to me and said, "Great example. Do you want to watch the second one?" And I was like, "That was both of them. That's how smooth they play out." The other main issue, and I kind of see where they're coming from, is there's no investment in the actual characters. We're 2 episodes in. You got to give them room to grow. I don't think we're really supposed to be attached to anyone at this point in time. I think this is kind of world building, setting the tone, and establishing the series. I don't think that we're meant to get attached to anybody. And they'll drop the threads as they go along, and we will follow along with that. But anyway, during this transition to the robot bodies, they're in them now, they're synths. The Weyland-Yutani ship that was collecting specimens in deep space, one of them being a xenomorph, along with 4 to 5 other alien species, they have a Nostromo level incident and crash. And they crash onto Prodigy territory. Now, again, this is not like just flying into Amazon's backyard in America and SpaceX can go collect their stuff. This is completely different. These are owned, operated, they belong to the corporations. These are countries, these are planets that are owned by the corporations. So when you have a Weyland-Yutani ship that crashes onto a Prodigy planet, there's going to have to be a lot of negotiating going on behind the scenes to get to that ship by Weyland-Yutani. In fact, we actually get to see Yutani, and she looks great. And it wasn't Ming-Na Wen for a change. It was actually another Asian actress. It was very impressive. I was amazed to see it. Because, usually it's one of two, and this was fantastic. But that was a nice surprise. That was great to see. I liked that, and I liked our Kid Cavalier, or Boy Cavalier, actually telling her to, hey, talk to my lawyer. But this ship crashes into a hab block, or a hive city. I'm going to say more of a hive city. Now, part of it that people don't understand, especially in a series like this, it's not like a Star Destroyer crashing into New York City. This is much more massive. Imagine Revenge of the Sith, where the ship crashes on the Coruscant, and really, it's kind of a giant runway. That's kind of how these planets are. These cities are Chicago, New York, and LA in a couple of buildings. They're massive. So while this ship is also massive, it's not going to do the level of damage. It's not like a 9/11 event. This is not going to do the level of damage you would expect it to because of scale. And scale is something very important to recognize because it can change everything. This ship entered the solar system. It was on course. I still am not quite sure why there was an early warning, but we really haven't touched into that yet. If you're going off of our technology, we watch a lot of things in the sky, but we're not going to have a lot of notice. And this ship is coming in. So when it comes in, slows down and crash lands, there's just 60 seconds to notice, maybe. I mean, if you think of a shooting star, it's going to be completely different. That's going to be hyperfast, but just slow it down a little bit because of mass. And this ship's thrusters were still going in full reverse. This ship was trying to stop. So it was a crash landing. But either way, it crashes into this hab block. And we have thousands of people going there. The response is instantaneous from Prodigy. They want to know what's on the Weyland-Yutani Deep Space Research Vessel. Can you blame them? It's corporate espionage. Of course you're going to want to know what's in there. That's trade secrets, and that's something Yutani talks about, is proprietary technology. Why wouldn't Prodigy want to get into that ship and get as much of it out before Weyland-Yutani, and I can pretty much guarantee that's going to happen, sends in their own team? But that actually leads into something else I heard, is that they don't call for backup. And I actually thought so at first too, until you put on the captioning. And it all comes to life. All you hear is radio chatter. Call hazmat. Call reinforcements of this kind, of that type. Call these people. Find out what's going on. So it's not like there's a couple of people going into the ship or going into these buildings. There is a rescue operation for all the civilians that lived in these hive towers. There is a rescue operation going on for the ship. There's hazmat containment. There's external containment. I'm sure there's fire suppression containment. And of course, like I said, hazmat. You're going to have all of these things be a major factor in any kind of rescue operation of this scale. If you think about what happened in New York, that was a response to towers. This would be a response to an entire city with a corporation that has the resources to give you that response. Because you're not limited to a local police department. These are planetary-wide corporations. So they can get in there and do it handle just about anything with numbers that we can't even think of in our world. But when it comes down to it, it's well thought out, and you have to think about it to actually appreciate it. And I'm just curious to see how this is going forward. I mean, you can see I'm really interested, and the more I'm thinking about it now, the more I want to rewatch it again. Generic sci-fi. I heard this a couple of times. Generic sci-fi. I love generic sci-fi. Could I see this as a setup to a sci-fi series? Yeah, absolutely. Could just be... It's reminiscent of an older show, say an SG-1 or an X-Files. where you're laying out a story. You have to build your characters. You have to establish the world. And this is something that can't be done in 15 minutes. You can do it in 10 minutes and 15 minutes in a movie. In fact, in the original Alien, the setup was only a few minutes. It took, in both Alien and Aliens, to know everything that was going on. But this is much more in depth, and we are going to be spending 8 hours with these characters this season. So, of course, you're going to want to build them out. And if this is a marriage of Blade Runner and Alien, you're really going to need that time. Oh, where are we? So, generic sci fi, I don't really see it. I mean, I can, but. Ships and Outposts is Alien. Alien and Aliens. They have existed in confined locations since the beginning. And in my earlier video, I was saying this is a huge red flag because this only works in a confined environment. They kind of found a way around that. And I would say it's really the only way they could do it. A lot of the things in the show, I've come to the conclusion, it's the only way they could do it to make it work. And to make it work in a way that you would actually appreciate it and not say it's derivative of something that came before it. Synths, cyborgs, and hybrids. Now, we all know synths from Blade Runner. We know synthetics from Alien, from Weyland-Yutani. They use synths. What we're getting a new taste of is cyborgs, which seems like it would have been something that went along with this all the way through, and we just haven't come across them yet. Or maybe it's something that they don't even bother with by the time we catch up with them in the Alien and Alien series. Or it's something they don't even need to pay attention to at that point in time. Hybrids are what we are dealing with now with Wendy and the Lost Boys. We are looking at a synthetic body with a human mind. So it's a marriage of two worlds, essentially. Boy Cavalier, who is running all this, said in the series that he's worried about AI and synths just being that. And his goal is to, or at least what he tells us his goal is, to advance humanity through synthetics and other means, of course. Now, he gives a few different excuses for reasons for this, as one of them being that he is so brilliant, he can't find anyone to have a good conversation with. And I think that was a jest on his part, but he's very hard to read. A lot in this show is very hard to read. You don't want to know what the characters' motivations are. We've only pretty much covered the surface level. Timothy Oliphant's character is acting, he's a synth, but he is working to teach the hybrids how to be. Now, see, he thinks more synthetic, where the humanity is not important to him, while it is important to his boss. So there's a conflict there, but he follows orders as a good synth should. I think he's sick or was sick and now synth. Which character are you talking about? Are you talking about Boy Cavalier, or are you talking about Timothy Oliphant's character? Because Timothy Oliphant's character, I'm pretty sure, is a 100% synthetic. As for Boy Cavalier, and I have to keep looking because I keep trying to call him Kid Cavalier. Boy Cavalier, jury's out. I think he's definitely has something to do with the synth. With just regardless, there's something there. There's something synthetic in him, and that's the way I'm. That's the only way I'm going with it. Okay, let me reset on this one. But yeah, ships and outpost. Boy Cavalier, thank you. Uh, ships and outposts is where Alien works. And here they enlarge that environment 1,000-fold, 10,000-fold. They are putting us in an environment that is both confined yet massive. And what happens is Wendy's brother gets sent in with the Marines to secure the ship, search and rescue. And what happens with that is Wendy sees him on a camera and says, I want to go in. Let us go in. We don't break. We're invulnerable. Send us in and we can take care of stuff. We can save people. Of course, her only agenda is to save her brother, but I'm sure, she seems decent and she wants to do the right thing, so great. What's interesting is Boy Cavalier says, go ahead. Even when reminded they're priceless and prototypes, who cares? Just go, send them. Which is kind of, they're my toys, I'll let them do what they want, but he has there's this aura of, let them do what they're going to do and see what happens, that I think ties into his own synthetic or AI or whatever history that will be later unveiled. But they travel, her and her gang of synths or hybrids go to the crash site. Now, while at the crash site, they, of course, run into everything we are going to expect. The alien creatures, the xenomorph, she's looking for her brother, so on and so forth. All the tropes, everything you'd expect to be there is there. But it all works. It's neatly packaged. We get our first look at the alien, or at least our xenomorph, pretty early on. And it's practical. It's a suit. And this kills me. It's not as good of a suit as the first Alien, which we are so many decades removed now. Come on. But I also don't think this is the same type of alien that we saw in Alien. It's not there yet. This is early. It's probably from a different gene pool. And if you get into the lore, aliens can all be different. I also don't think it's a queen. I think what we're looking at is a scout. I think at best, there's one or more of this specific type of xenomorph that is securing the perimeter to set up a base for a queen. Because we do see 6 eggs. So we know there's a queen. And this thing is not a queen. We all know what queen aliens look like. This isn't it. These eggs weren't just put there in storage. They were recently laid. Probably while the ship was in transport before it landed on Earth. So we know we at least have 2 xenomorphs on board. And with the condition of some of the bodies, I'm going to assume there's more than that. So they are around the ship more than what we would get. More than what an Alien fan would like to see, and I'll grant that. I would like to actually see less of the alien, because it's about all the suspense and build up, but you can't have that in this series. And I get it. So this is its own thing. This is where thinking too far ahead and trying to impose lore and what you care about onto the story is going to affect your view of the story. I'm very interested, and I really want to dig further down into it. This is going to be a week after week after week viewing for me, and I'll probably rewatch the previous episodes before the next one even comes out, and I'll do that every week because you got to keep up. And as many threads as they are dropping, it's I think things that are dropped in the first episode are going to come out in the fifth. I don't think we're going to see a lot of flashbacks. I don't think they're going to go any really heavy in exposition. You can say some there. It has been kind of expositional, but really that's just because of the mentality uh, of the characters, especially of the hybrids. These people don't have good social skills. Now, you could say, oh, a 12-year-old knows how to be social. Okay, does a 12-year-old terminally ill child know how to be social? How many years was that child terminally ill? And in the show, when you meet them before they translate into their synth bodies, a lot of them have been sick for a while. And if you have, God forbid, a sick child, sick loved one, they become pretty isolated. So that's going to stunt their development as well. So while they might be a 12-year-old, they might have 8-year-old mentalities. And I know this doesn't sound, it sounds sketchy, but according to the show, that's the only thing that is malleable enough to be put into a synthetic mind. And it makes sense. Putting an adult in, they go mad. I can see that happening very easy. People don't adjust. Adults do not adjust in a way children do. And that's where the Peter Pan references and everything are going to fall into it. I mean, the xenomorphs, the alligator, it's not just a throwaway. Every character has a relation. There's an importance to everything you are seeing and everything you are hearing. And that also is going to fall into the words spoken. And where these threads are being dropped, and they're going to constantly need to be picked up on. But the special effects, like I said, there's a lot of practical effects in this show. And I love it. This show looks gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. It actually feels like it was filmed in 1979, cleaned up for now. There's some... The alien suit... I'd like to see a little more out of it. I would have liked to have seen maybe a more dynamic actor in the suit. And I think we're going to see more along the way. These are kind of just grunts. The xenomorphs we're seeing right now are grunts. Or a grunt. The other alien creatures, interesting. The CGI's not bad. And you can see when they go practical, there's like leeches that literally drain a guy, two guys dry through their carotid artery. And you can see that they're CGI to begin with, but they also have some practical effects once they're full. And that's neat to see. I wish we got to see more of that. That's one of the things I was really excited about, was when I read practical effects. Because it's not done anymore. It's really not. I mean, you know the way this all works. Sets were beautiful. Yeah, they absolutely. This is one of the best looking shows I've seen in a long time. And it's the different locations. It's going from the Weyland-Yutani ship. You know this is a Weyland-Yutani ship. You know that's Mother. You know that's the computer. You know how everything works. You instantly remember how everything on that ship works. When you see a stairwell or a porthole, you almost know where that goes. That's how perfectly this was done. Now, between the hab block and the crashed ship, it leads to an interesting dynamic because they are intertwined into one. So now you have, I'm going to say hundreds of miles, and it may be more, of hallways. And I don't know how deep these things even go in the ground, because usually the underhive is where the poorer people live. And a perfect example of this in the show, as they're going door to door trying to make sure everybody's clear, they hear music, and there's people having a fancy dress party. And I'm talking Doctor Who, Clockwork Men, beautifully done. It was a nice nod. There was actually a couple of Doctor Who moments in that, and I mean good Doctor Who, good Doctor Who, not Jodie or Shooty. Good Doctor Who. But there were a couple of moments that you could see were done out of love. But one of the complaints, well, wouldn't they hear when a giant ship? No. They're not built like that. These things are built to withstand impacts like that. These things are near indestructible. So, if this crashed 30 levels away, you're not going to hear that 30 levels. It could be miles until you ever reach that point. And at this point, it was outside of an elevator. So we have no idea how far it went down. It could be so subterranean that we don't know. But the alien, the xenomorph, spends a lot of time killing. And across social media, you're going to see the same thing. They don't kill, they cocoon. Yes. But they would also need to set, if there is a queen, and we know there is because of the eggs, you are going to have your soldiers that need to make it safe. They're not animals. This is not a stupid species. They are going to send out their workers, their soldiers, to clear the area, to make it safe, so they can then cocoon and build out. And I think we're just starting to get into that at the end of the second episode. Where it goes with Weyland-Yutani is going to be really interesting, but this whole thing about Prodigy and just having this new kind of different perspective on the world, it's a way of going about it that I really respect. And it is Ridley Scott. So he could have stepped on his own toes and changed things. He didn't. This isn't a shoehorn. It's not a change. This is an evolution. And that's the other point that I have to make. This show could, let's say this series goes on for 5 years. It's not like at the end of that 5 years, everything needs to be hit by a nuke and blown up and disappeared from lore. It doesn't. Because we've only, and I said this in the beginning, we've only seen Weyland-Yutani's perspective. And, hey, I will give Ridley Scott a fair amount of rope with this. Because I do believe he is tying in Blade Runner and Alien. And that is worth giving him a chance for. Because everything I see in Timothy Olyphant's synth says to me, that is Blade Runner. That is not Alien. And early on, you could say Rourke, Bishop. When you look at those characters, you could see the evolution. And this, to me, feels very similar. In fact, the way he portrays a synth is, I think it's a little bit, it's really up there with Rutger Hauer from Blade Runner. I mean, it's more Blade Runner than it is Alien. That's actually the best way to put it. Timothy Olyphant's character is more Blade Runner. It's more of a Blade Runner synth than it is an Alien synth. Somewhere in between. Maybe this is what they evolved into. And if we can get more of that backstory at this caliber, I'm happy to see it. When it comes down to the dialogue, it can be a little rough and jarring because the actors are portraying 12-year-olds. And, well, shouldn't they be afraid they're going to see blood? No, they don't have real emotions anymore. Well, they're going to be scared. They're going to be frightened. Not really. The best they can do is maybe emulate that. But it is in the same breath, without the hormones, are they going to even really feel anything at all? We know that their settings can be adjusted remotely. We know this is done while they sleep. We don't know what was programmed into them by this point, and we know there was. In fact, there was a nice nod to a sheep with a kind of a brain scan. It was just a quick flash, but it was cool. It was a very cool moment. I mean, this is a Ridley Scott show, and I'm just gushing over it. And I could yap about this for hours. It's hard like this because I'm talking to a notepad and a camera, and bouncing off you guys in the chat, and thank you for that because I really do appreciate it. Because when you're not doing a panel show, to be able to get all your thoughts out, not repeat yourself, is not an easy thing to do. And talking to yourself is not at all easy. As much as you might yap, and my wife will disagree because I will sit there and talk to her for hours and she doesn't hear a damn word I say. But that's the thing when you're married, as long as I am, it's kind of a plus because she'd yell at me more. So, Alien Earth. There is a lot to look forward to, but I am afraid that when this season ends, it's going to be like a Firefly situation where people don't know what they had until it was gone. And I really hope that's not the case, but I can see it going that way. This is Disney brand damage. Again, because it's Fox, but it's Disney. It's FX. It's under Hulu, but it is Disney. And yeah, that's why I had to preface everything by saying in the next episode, this could go south fast, really, really fast. But Josh Hawley seems to be holding it down, and as long as Ridley Scott's around, and you can see his inputs there, this is not a name on the show. Ridley Scott is definitely on top of it because it is beautiful. That's something with Alien Romulus. The movie was beautiful. The content, now that I will give you, is Gen Z Alien. I don't think that's the case here. I don't feel like it. I don't see it. There's no message in this. There's no hidden allegories to it. It's all the information that they want to put out there is out there. And I don't think we have to read anything modern audience related or the LA outside your window into this. I think what it is what it is, and that's the way it's going to stay. But I would love to hear what you guys think of Alien Earth. I can't wait to the next episode. I'm going to be breaking down. It'll be much more focused in my videos than this is. Being able just to talk out and work through the thought process is just, it's easier. And one of the things that I know is going to happen is when you end the stream or you film a video, when you're all done and you get done editing and hit that publish button, then the first thing that happens is you say, oh, I forgot about that. So that's where rambling comes in handy. But let's take a little step off of Alien and talk about something else in the mainstream right now. Oh no. Yes, James Gunn's Superman. James Gunn, after saying this movie will stay in theaters, it's doing wonderful, it's the most amazing thing in the world, has now moved up the date for streaming and rentals to digital within 35 days. That is a failure of epic proportions. And if you look on your screen right now, this tweet is from James Gunn. Catch Superman in theaters or on digital Friday, but look at the image. That sums up James Gunn's Superman. The fate of DC Studios and Warner Brothers. Oh, here. Perfect image. The rise and fall of James Gunn's DCU in just 35 days. Superman's box office is $585 million, and it is game over. There is no path forwards to profitability or even breaking even for this movie. It's dead, it's buried, it's over. Any potential sequels, done. WB is going to have to move on, especially because what did James Gunn say? I hate it when it does this. Culture Crave. James Gunn's response to fans' question on whether Superman needs to make $650 million to break even. No, it needs to make over $1 billion to break even. Anyone saying that doesn't have an understanding of the film business, and we would be idiots to make a first in a franchise film that would need to make that much to be profitable. I think he called himself out on that one because he should have known from Marvel that you're spending 400 million, 600 to put this movie out, and you expect it to be profitable. I mean, you signed the budget, you wrote yourself the check. I mean, he gave himself $15 million to do this movie when Corn Sweat got 800,000. Seems fair. I mean, what do you guys think? Seem fair to you? Superman gets next to nothing, and James Gunn pays himself $15 million. And he wonders why he is failing. DCU updates. James Gunn's on why Superman is going to digital so soon. Oh, let's hear what he has to say, folks. Well, it's very complicated. Failure is not complicated. It's failure. But the truth is, it's because of Peacemaker. Okay, so Superman didn't do well overseas because America isn't popular. And Superman now didn't do good domestically because Peacemaker? I don't know. I originally thought Peacemaker was going to be coming out next month. You're the head of DC Studios. You make this decision, numbnuts, and we all know it. This dude cannot stop lying. There was a lot of things that are beyond our control. No, there's actually not. When it comes to the movie and shows, no, that is actually exactly what you control 100%. So the Peacemaker is coming out now. And at the end of the day, I wanted everyone to be able to see Superman that wanted to. Was it getting ripped off the planet or Batgirl? Because honestly, this movie should have been Batgirl. This thing should have sat on the shelf the second the execs at Warner Brothers saw it. But he wanted everybody to see Superman that wanted to. Even those people who couldn't get to a theater before Peacemaker. And that's really the reason for it. There's discount days. If you wanted to go see this movie, you would have. And again, let's take a quick look. $334 million domestic. You know what that tells me? No one wanted to see your movie. And the word of mouth was so bad that it will never break even. And you can't make the money off of HBO. Why is that, WB? Oh, it's the same company. You can't license it to yourself. Well, I mean, you could do some money laundering, but that's about the sum of it. Superman is coming to our homes this Friday, 8/15. Available now for pre-order, or catch it while it's still in theaters. James Gunn confirms the treatment for the next story in the Superman saga is done, and hopes to go into production not too far away from today. The man has said he won't start anything without a nailed-down script. I believe that's the excuse he used with Matt Reeves in the Batman 2, which suddenly got fast-tracked the second Superman flopped. His contract ends November 2026. I said that in the video earlier. I didn't think his contract was more than another year. He's done. This is over. He might be trying to squeeze out whatever he can, but there's nothing left. Confirmed DCU projects after Peacemaker. Now, I want you all to understand the importance he has put on John Cena and his tidy whities. Peacemaker was watchable. I found parts of it entertaining. I thought it was funny. I thought it was stupid. You can't build a universe off of it. So Superman was such a big failure that he can't build his universe off of it, that now Peacemaker is such a huge freaking success. It's the biggest thing on the planet that the DCU is now going to pivot to be built off of it. So Lanterns. That project I'm actually interested in, although I think we're going to see a lot of things we wouldn't want to see. Characters that we actually want to see in Lanterns killed off before the first season ends. Supergirl, that's going to do the Marvel's money. If that makes $200 million, I'd be blown away. Now, I know they're going to say the budget was a lot lower, and I believe that because I think what he did was used the filming budget of Superman to film a lot of Supergirl. I'm sure they share a lot of the same sets, and they probably switched out the actress. So that huge inflated $363 million budget, that is a real number, could very well be for 2 movies, and maybe some of Peacemaker as well, because I definitely didn't see it on screen. Clayface, I think it's done $40 to $60 million budget. Horror, it's not going to do huge, but it'll make money. Superman Saga, Crypto the movie. Are you excited now, kids? Confirmed projects currently being written. Sergeant Rock. They bringing Dwayne Johnson back. Wonder Woman film. Unless it's Gina Carano, I don't want to see it. Paradise Lost. Okay. I'm assuming... Waller. We all love Waller. Isn't she the warden from the Suicide Squad? She could definitely hold up a show. In fact, I bet she could kick ass as the President of the United States. Batman, the Brave and the Bold. Huge chance that is a massive failure, even though I'd be excited to see this from anybody else. Booster Gold. I'm a comic fan, and I barely care about Booster Gold. And Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle? Wait a minute. Let's talk about that for a second. Anybody remember Blue Beetle movie? Came out before The Flash. It was about a murderous suit that a Hispanic kid, or a Mexican, gave to his family to go kill a whole bunch of people. That was Blue Beetle the movie. I'm surprised he doesn't have Ezra Miller coming back as the Flash. But yeah, none of this is going to happen. Maybe, I'm going to say 3 of these get done before he's fired. I'll say Lanterns, Supergirl, and Clayface. Superman Saga, if that is a Crypto movie or a Crypto animated, I will say that maybe that gets made. But that's it. None of the rest of this is getting done. Not under James Gunn. Okay, let's take a second. Because I just talked about Gina Carano being Wonder Woman. Let's talk about Gina for a second. Gina Carano, who took on Disney with the help of Elon Musk's attorneys. Canceled for being a good person, a critical thinker with common sense, has destroyed Disney. Now they bent a knee. She made God bleed. That's all I care about. This woman being happy and walking away with a settlement that she is pleased with is all that matters. The internet trolls are going nuts. She sold out. We're going to get this. We wanted Discovery. If you think for a second that Disney was ever going to show you anything in Discovery, one email, one text message, a wayward glance, you're an idiot. They were never ever going to submit to do anything like that. This had one out, and it was a settlement. Now, maybe Gina could go back to Disney. I really hope she doesn't, but if she does, God bless her. It's because for the right reasons. However, I hope she stays far away from him, takes the money, opens up her own production company, and starts a series called Space Battles, and just casts herself and gives us the Star Wars that we actually deserve, that she was capable of putting out there, unlike Disney and Pedro Pascal, Kathleen Kennedy, and Dave Filoni and his dog. But let's take a look at what Gina had to say, because I think this is important for everyone to read. Thank you for all your requests for interviews. I just haven't felt like my feet have landed in order to give proper respect to the conversation. I'll do so when the time is right for me. More power to you, Gina. Taking one more day to relax and celebrate what feels like 1,000 pounds off my shoulders and then back to work. It's been 5 years in this battle, which some understand all too well and some don't at all, and some far more than I do, and that is all okay. People learn over time, give each other the grace to learn. And you know what? Gina put out, you can find this right on her Twitter page, and if you want to read it, go ahead and read it. But she won, she made God bleed. I have nothing but respect and admiration for this woman, and I hope going forward she has every success that she wants. But it is a beautiful thing for this to be over for her. Right into Spider-Man. Right into Spider-Man Brand New Day. Or what I like to call this as the distraction from the failure of Fantastic Four. And although I looked at the box office numbers for FF today, it's not really doing that horribly. It's doing bad for what it should be. And it has its issues, but word of mouth was good. It's not too far behind Superman with far less time in the cinemas. I'm really interested to see what Superman going to digital is going to do for Fantastic Four. Because honestly, I could see it giving that a nice bump forward. And maybe FF will end up hitting 650. It might break even. If it hits around 650, that's probably going to be break even for it. That's the most I think they're going to get out of it. But I mean, 4K, I'm actually going to pick up a 4K, but still, it's a novelty. They don't make any real money off of that. But they are dangling the webhead to distract from Fantastic Four. Because what's interesting is, something that never happens is they have opened up their filming location to fans and press and media. These pictures are all over the internet because anyone in Glasgow can take them. And this suit looks fantastic. This is phenomenal. This is the best live action Spider-Man suit to date. I can't wait to see what they put out with the Punisher, and I actually have a nice shot with the battle van. That, man, John looks good. Now, who knows? I mean, it's Sony. Thankfully, this is Sony and not Marvel. Remember, Marvel is a minority holder in this. They're going to get 25% of profits, but they don't have a whole lot of creative control, thankfully. So we're not going to have Smart Hulk. We're going to have Savage Hulk. So that deals with the problems with Mark Ruffalo, who no one can stand anymore. And John Bernthal, I mean, he's the Punisher. He is the Punisher. He embodies the character. I love this guy. I think he's great. I think this is a fantastic role for him. And this movie is going to do huge money at the box office. Somebody was posting about Supergirl and Spider-Man coming out around the same time, that Supergirl would beat Spider-Man. And my God, no way. Spider-Man is probably going to make more money than both Doomsday and Secret Wars combined, just due to the budget. Because the budget for Doomsday look at the cast. That cast is huge money. Hundreds of millions for the Russos and RGJ alone to get him back for 2 movies. So the budget of a decent movie is being used on the salary of the directors and Robert Downey Jr., who's not even playing Iron Man. It's going to be very interesting to see what Marvel does. And mind you, I'm calling it now. Doomsday is not coming out until the following spring. They're going to kick it. I bet you it's going to be a July release. They're not done filming this thing. They're not done with this script. Rebecca Romaine had just said last week that, oh yeah, is she done filming? Yeah. Well, I don't know. I might have to go back. They're not done with the script yet. And the more time is going on, the more actors we are hearing, oh, they got done filming their stuff, but they're going to be coming back. So they have no idea what they're filming. And I guarantee you they're pivoting after Fantastic Four. Which, man, if that was a Phase 1 movie, it would have been good. But my friends, I think that is going to be all for tonight. I have a lot to get done, and I honestly want to rewatch Alien Earth again and get a good feel for it before I shoot the video. So let me know down in the comment section what you thought of Alien Earth, what you are thinking about Alien Earth, and what you want this show to be. And if you think it sucked, let me know why. But until then, my friends, I appreciate you. I am glad you're here. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next one. Take care, all.